What is going on, guys? So today we're going to be making our leader stats, as well as we're going to be making this part right here go ahead and increment our leader stats every time we touch it. So let's get right into it. Alright guys, so to start off, we're going to go ahead and we're going to need a script inside of server script service. I named mine leader stats data. You can name yours whatever you want. The name of the script will not matter. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to get local players equals game get service players. I always prefer to do get service rather than game.players, but you do as you please. Scripting is our own little fun world to make whatever we want, however we want it. So that's all we're going to need for the services. So I'm going to go ahead and title that services, just so I know when I look into the script what my services are that I'm using and what my locals are. But all we need is the service, so we're going to go ahead and do players, player added, connect function, and then we have our function set up after we come over here and we hit enter. Now as you can see, Roblox automatically passes you the player. Now by passing you the player, you can already use it, and we're going to need to. So we're going to go ahead and give a variable to what they are passing us. And we're going to name that player. You can name that variable whatever you want to. It doesn't matter, but naming it player is the easiest way for me to remember. I always try to name my variable something that I can look at and know exactly what it is. Though I do think I've harped on that enough, so let's move on. So next thing we're going to need is we're going to need a folder. This is .new folder. Now there are two ways to go about it, but we need to put this folder inside the player. The two ways are pretty simple. You can either come down here and you do folder.parent equals player, or you can skip all that and you can come right next to this stringed folder, put a comma, and type in the player. I prefer to do that. It makes my code a little cleaner. The next thing is non-optional to make the script work. You need to name it, and you're going to name it leader stats, all lowercase. If you name it anything else, it won't work as intended. And we're going to need one more value inside of that folder, and it's going to be a number value. And we're going to go ahead and put that inside a folder, and we're going to name our number value. We'll name it taps. Alright, so that handles setting up the leader stats. Now let's learn how to increment our leader stats so we can make it work. So you're going to come and do another script, and you're going to put it inside of your part, and we're going to go ahead and name that script taps. Alright, so services we'll need for this, because we will need one. We'll need the player service equals game get service players. Again, you get your player service however you want to. It's one of the few things in Roblox that you can do game dot, and it works pretty well. So, get it how you want. We will need some locals. We're going to need the part, and that's it. Don't know why I said some. So part dot touched connect function, boom. And as you can see, again, something's automatically passed to us, other part, and we're going to need that. I'm going to name it hit. Everyone in the community names it hit. You name it whatever you want to. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to make sure that our hit is a player, because if it's not a player, it will hit for every object that touches it. So if I go ahead and I do this, and I print hit, and I'll run it, you should see it pop up with base plate. It is not popping up with base plate though. It's anchored. Yeah, you can see it'll pop up with base plate. That's just something to remember whenever you're using the part.touched functions. It will pop up with a base plate. It will, anything that touches it will fire this. So it's best to just make sure that whatever's touching it, whenever it's touching it, is what needs to be touching it. Now I've said touch it a lot. We are actually going to need a debounce. That's what I forgot. Just because I don't like it when I'm doing things like this and my players can repeatedly touch the same thing 1,010 times. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that whatever hits it is a player. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do if players find first child hit dot parent dot name. And now the reason we're going to do it like this is because if your game has NPCs or has anything that can run them around or connected to the player, you're going to want to make sure that hit.parent is an actual player and not just an NPC. So after we hit that player, we're going to go, after we confirm it's a player, we're going to turn our debounce. We're going to go, excuse me, if not, debounce, then. And this is another way of pretty much just telling the script, if debounce equals false, then we're going to continue on. Otherwise, skip this bit and go on to the next one. We're going to do debounce equals true. And we're also going to go ahead and turn some things off for the part. We're going to go part.canCollide equals false, part.canTouch equals false, and we're turning the transparency off just so players know that, hey, this can't be touched anymore. Now make sure your part is anchored, otherwise when you do canCollide, it will fall through the world because it's colliding with the base plate, it's colliding with everything else to keep it where it's at. But if you anchor it, canCollide won't matter. Now, after that, we need to find our player. There are a few ways to find our player. You can 100% copy this code right here, and that will be your player. You could come down here and go local player equals players, find first child, so on and so forth, right? Find first child, hit .parent, .name, and that'll get you the player. But what I prefer to do is players, get player from character, hit .parent. There's really no difference in scripting. This just, it looks a little cleaner. So I prefer to do it like that, but you do it as you please. That and this won't yield the code or slow it down. This will yield the code and slow it down. This will not yield the code or slow it down. So depending on how big your code is, choose what you want. Now that we have the player, we do need to get the player's leader stats. So we're going to do local leader stat equals player dot leader stats. Right? And now we're going to need to go ahead and copy whatever we named our value inside of there. And do keep in mind, you can do as many of these as you want, just name them differently every single time, and you'll be fine. And we're going to do taps equals leader stat dot, and then paste your name. Now that we have this is another optional way to do this, so I'm going to tell you all both. First thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get the value of taps. And now what you can also do is you can make sure that the script knows that this is a number value by putting that colon in there and doing number value. Because this is not created yet, it has no idea what taps is. So, taps.value, and you can see it still have a red line because there's nothing there, but it actually came up this time. If I get rid of number value here and get rid of that colon as well, and I try to just call taps, right, taps dot, nothing pops up. It has no idea what taps is. It's not a thing yet. So go ahead and come in here and let the script know it's a number value. So now you can use the IntelliSense to find everything about it. So you could also do taps.value, or you could do, not also, taps.value equals taps.value plus 1. Or you can go ahead and taps.value plus equals 1. They say the same thing. Neither one is better than the other. The pros and cons are that this is quicker and easier to type, and it's quicker on the memory, because now you're not having to call a value twice. Or you could do this. It's honestly not going to matter too much at the end of the day unless you have 1,000 scripts. But I prefer to always stick with what I know is better for the script. Now we have set all of those, so now we need to set them back. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do task.wait, or alternatively, you could just use wait. What you can tell is that if you look at it, this one's throttling in seconds, has passed without throttling, and this one is with throttling. Task.wait doesn't throttle as much as wait does, so it won't wait on absolutely everything. I would just get in the habit of using task.wait over standard wait. And we're going to make them wait 2 seconds. And then we're going to come up here and we're going to copy this and we're going to set everything in reverse. Right, so debounce is going to be false. CanCollide will be true. CanTouch is going to be true. And transparency will be 0. And as always, let's go ahead and test our script and make sure I didn't make any mistakes for you guys. Boom, get 1 tap, it goes away. Try to walk over it, I only get 1 tap. 3 taps, so on and so forth. You can see that goes infinitely. If you guys want to learn how to save it next time, let me know. Or, if, as always, if you have any suggestions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I will get to it as quick as I can. See you guys.